East Tennessee, America, the world, where are we?
Proverbs 22.
Yes, Proverbs 22. But as always, we'll recap Proverbs 21. We'll go through it pretty quick. The king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, as the rivers of water. He turneth it wheresoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. A high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. How many of y'all knew a look was sin? You can sin without even saying or thinking anything. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness, but of everyone that is hasty only to want. The getting of treasure by a lying tongue is a vanity, tossed to and fro of them that seek death. The robbery of the wicked shall destroy them, because they refuse to do judgment. The way of man is forward and strange, but as for the pure, his work is right. It is better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than with a brawling woman in a wide house.
Amen.
Yeah. Where all the husbands at for that one? So here we have a whole community of dudes just living on the roof, hanging out, having a good time. But the soul of the wicked desireth evil, his neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise, and when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. So we compared that last week to Proverbs 19, where it says, smite a scorner, and the simple will beware. Reprove one that hath understanding, and he will understand knowledge. And this is coming through. There's two different types of discipline. One, spankings, right, with kids, because they don't know a whole lot yet. So you got to get the point across with them in a way that will register. So, kids see one kid get spanked, the rest of them are like, oh, I better calm down. The parents are starting to spank us now. But with another one, if there's somebody who's smart and he makes a mistake, like let's say he fails a test in school, and then you spank him for it, didn't really teach him anything. He's like, well, I still don't know what I did wrong. Thanks a lot for the spankings. All right, I know a failing test is bad now, but I don't know how. So this is just showing two different types of discipline there. The scorner is punished, the simple is made wise, but when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. And the righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness. Whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. A gift in secret pacifieth anger, and a reward in the bosom strong wrath. It is a joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. He that loveth pleasure shall be a poor man. He that loveth wine and oil shall not be rich. We talked a little bit about this before. There's a very, very rich dude from Florida once told me, don't buy anything unless it makes you money. I was like, okay. I was like, what about food? He was like, don't be a smart aleck and everything. But what that's saying here is, if you go out, take the prodigal son, for example. He took his inheritance, so he had a lot of money. He went out and he bought wine. He bought, parties. He bought riotous living is what it was called. And then soon he didn't have any money. Why? Because he bought things that didn't make more. He bought things that didn't last. He didn't buy tools he could work with or, investments into things that would turn back. He just spent it all on the short, quick, fun stuff. Like this saying, wine and oil. To us, it's not really a big deal, wine and oil. But back then, oil was harder to make. Wine was harder to make and took longer. So he blew it all. And this is Proverbs. This is even King Solomon saying, if you love all these pleasures and everything, every dime you make is going to go into that, and you'll never have money. You'll always be poor with it. The wicked shall be a ransom for the righteous, and the transgressor of the upright. It is better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. There we go. He must have been having a bad week when he was writing these. Better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman.
Amen.
There is treasure to be desired, and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up. Or again, prodigal son. He that followeth after righteousness and mercy findeth life, righteousness, and honor. So, the two things that you can follow here. he followeth after righteousness and mercy. So those are two things that he was looking for and he was following. But what did he find? He found life, righteousness, and honor. So he found more than what he was looking for. Why? Because he was looking for the right things, for the God's instructed things. So sometimes you just look to be, hey, I'm just going to try to not sin. I'm just going to go out and look for what God wants me to do, and I'm going to do that. And then eventually you find all these other things that you wanted along the way, but that you thought you were giving up for God. Now God's giving them back to you because you went after God. So you will always, if you follow God, you will always find more than what you're looking for while following Him anyway. A wise man scaleth the city of the mighty, and casteth down the strength of confidence thereof. Whoso keepeth his tongue and mouth, or his mouth and his tongue, keepeth his soul from troubles. Don't speak too fast. How many of y'all have ever been in a fight because of something you said? About everybody's been in a fight. How many of you ever been in a fight and you didn't say anything first? Somebody said something, you come up. Margaret, I can just say anything. Whoever just walked in a place got in a fight, Margaret would raise her hand. Always. Proud and haughty scorner is his name, who dealeth in proud wrath. The desire of the slothful killeth him, for his hands refuse to labor. Solomon did not like slothful people, and it did go down as one of the 7 deadly sins. Now that's more of a Catholic thing than biblical, but you can categorize them pretty easily when you break it down into those 7. And sloth even has its own category, right up there with the murderers and all of that. He coveteth greedily all the day long, but the righteous giveth and spareth not. The sacrifice of the wicked is abomination. How much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind? A false witness shall perish, but the man that heareth speaketh constantly. A wicked man hardeneth his face, but as for the upright, he directeth his way. There is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel against the Lord. How many of you have ever proven God wrong? Good, I'm glad none of you raised your hand. How many of you have ever tried? How many people out there tried? Lots and lots, right? Think of atheists. They have all these arguments on why God doesn't exist. Think of all the other religions on why this God doesn't exist. Can't make everybody happy, right? But what you can do is put judgment on everybody, even us. We even have a judgment coming. Might be coming a little sooner than when we're ready for it than we think, but either way, there is no wisdom, nor understanding, nor counsel that is against God. You can't really argue His plan. A lot of times His plan isn't really fully known to you, but if you do God's plan and what He wants, you will eventually understand. You will find understanding. You said it 100 times here. And where is the beginning of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding? Where is it always the beginning? The fear of the Lord. Yes. Everything starts when you're afraid of God. I went last night to a rodeo with some friends. It was a good rodeo, like a family one, not a wild rodeo. But the dude said, "I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm God-fearing." And I was like, it's a good category to put yourself in there. The horse is prepared against the day of battle, but safety is of the Lord. So you can put on your armor, you can put on everything, you can be ready to fight, but real safety is with God. Now it'll be Proverbs 21. Let's go on to Proverbs 22. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, and loving favor rather than silver and gold. How many rich people is everybody do they just like? How many of them like, no, he did everything fair and square to become a billionaire? Anybody? How many people do you like that doesn't have a lot of money? Not a lot nowadays because they don't get famous or anything. But having a good name, be like Ted up the road, he's a really good guy, versus Jim up the road. He's super rich, but he ripped off a lot of people to get that. Nobody likes him. One is obviously better than the other, but back then, and when you've been especially poor, you might not see it that way. But that's what Solomon's saying out here. It's better to have a good name than to have a rich name. The rich and poor meet together. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So what does it mean here? A prudent man foreseeth the evil, and hideth himself. Foresee the evil coming. Has anybody ever foreseen evil coming? Have you ever been like, I need to get out of here, I'm about to do something bad. I should probably get out of here before me and this guy end up fighting. I should probably get out of here before I end up doing all this bad stuff with all these people because it's tempting me. Y'all kids in the back, better get ready for that one. But a prudent man foreseeth the evil. You see it coming first. What do? Do you fight it in the name of God? No, this says you hide from it. You get out of there. You just get out of its way altogether. You run from evil. Flee all these things. By humility and the fear of the Lord are riches and honor and life. Thorns and snares are in the way of the forward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. Thorns and snares. So I went over kind of how snares worked before, but does everybody here know what a snare is? Do y'all remember that? How a snare works? This is a snare. Just, you see a little trail there, you just put a loop in it. But that loop's got a nice little hinge right here that's not like a normal loop, I guess you would say. That one will get tighter, but it never gets looser. Once it gets tighter, it locks. So the animal will realize something's around its neck, but it's too late at that point. By the time it realizes it, it's too late. Now, if it would realize it and stop, think about it, then back out of it, it might be okay. But no, what's there always the number one reaction when that happens? They fight it. They start running and going crazy, and that thing just gets tighter and tighter and tighter, so that the harder they fight, the quicker they die. It's kind of evil when you think about it, but a very effective method. That is why it's all over the Bible. It's a very old trap, one of the oldest ones ever. Thorns and snares are in the way of the forward. He that doth keep his soul shall be far from them. Don't think one little thing you do, like, well, I know this is bad, but it's just a little thing and I can get out of it, or God will forgive me, or it's just this one time. Because that's just putting it over your neck. And pretty soon, it's all the way around you, you're choking, and then what do? Like always. Oh, God, help me. God, please, have mercy on me. And He does, but it's up to us to stay out of these snares because He's warned you of that. It's not even getting them in the first place. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Very popular verse for parents, right? That's why we have a lot of kids here, normally not on Sunday mornings, but we do have a whole lot of kids when they come. And we want to get out in front of this thing because I was up against a little bit in my generation, up against, some pretty bad stuff, just like your generation's was, but it slowly got worse and worse. Now, the things the kids are up against, right under the parents' noses, the thing the parents tolerate, I don't understand it now. They just get thrown at their kids. This is the worst time ever to be a kid and to want to be a Christian, right? Because everything, even your school, a lot of your other friends, even the environment that you're growing up with and the times are against you. They're supporting and pushing everything you're supposed to be against when you're a Christian. And so now we have our job as the adults who've already been through it. We got to be the better trainers. We can't be just the slack, lax trainers that maybe taught us or our grandparents. We're going to have to be a little bit tougher. And the kids are going to not like it maybe a little bit at first, but they'll get over it. They'll appreciate it when they're older. It's our responsibility. That's why if I ever have kids, mandatory blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Mandatory. You don't have to keep going after that, but you're going to get at least a blue belt, so I don't have to worry all the time. And you will go to church all the time. If you miss church, you'll find out why you should have gotten a blue belt. The rich ruleth over the poor, and the borrower is servant to lender. He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fail. He that hath a bountiful eye shall be blessed, for he giveth of his bread to the poor. What's a bountiful eye? So, let's say someone is trying to get a lot of money for something that they want. So they're going out, they're working, they're hustling, grinding really hard. But they want it so they can buy this one big, nice car. Cool, you did it, you got your car, enjoyed it, you worked for it. But that's not a bounty. What is a bounty? Think of like a bountiful feast. Have you heard of something like that? So if I'm like, dude, if I can get all this money, we can throw like a big feast for the church and we can get a whole lot of people to come here. Or if I get this, look at all these people that I can help if I can just work and get this one thing. That is the bountiful eye, and that is what you'll get the blessing from God for. For he giveth of his bread to the poor. He's got everybody else in mind on why he wants to make it, not just he wants to make it for himself. Cast out the scorner, and contention shall go out. Yea, strife and reproach shall cease. Message hits home here, this church a little bit. But he that loveth pureness of heart, for the grace of his lips, the king shall be his friend. The eyes of the Lord preserve knowledge, and he overthroweth the words of the transgressor. So have you ever gotten an argument that you can be proven wrong in biblically? Pretty much all arguments that lead to that, you're not really arguing about anything biblical, but you can look in the Bible to find out why what you're arguing about is silly and why you shouldn't have been doing it in the first place, right? So, the slothful man saith, there is a lion without, I shall be slain in the streets. Simple verse, easy to be passed over, but really look at it. The slothful man saith, there is a lion without, I shall be slain in the streets. You want to come to church? I can't. There's a lion about. I'll be slain out there. Let's go to work. I can't. I would, but there's a lion out there. Don't you know? It's killing everybody. Let's go do this. I would, but there's a lion out there, and I can't. Come help me. Can't. There's a lion. I shall be slain in the streets. You get the point? There's a one quick liner with this. So this isn't new. This is old with that. Slothful man will not go out. I mean, he'll go to Walmart, but church, forget it. That's where the lion sleeps. You ever heard about the Lion of Judah? He's right there in it. The mouth of a strange woman is a deep pit. He that is abhorred of the Lord shall fall therein. Don't fall for the words of strange women. Guys in the back, even Ezra. Don't let them trick you with their, I forgot what else Proverbs calls it, but it talks about it a lot. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Speaking of Ezra, foolishness is bound in the heart of a child. They can't help it. They're kids. They're foolish. They just want to do different things. They see fire. Even I seen fire. I touched it as a kid, and you went, oh, fire's hot. Just certain things you're going to learn. But the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Does it say the timeout of correction? Does it say the nice talking to like an adult of correction? No, it says just hit him. Wish I'd have been hit more. Would have learned a lot more things. He that oppresseth the poor to increase his riches, and he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. Another very rich guy in Florida said, you'll never be rich by serving the rich. So he was a Lamborghini dealer. And I was like, dang, I bet you make a lot of money. He's like, you'll never get rich by dealing the rich or dealing with the rich. And I was like, oh, I guess. I don't know. Looks like you're having fun. But he that giveth to the rich shall surely come to want. How many of y'all do donations or donate to charity and stuff? Good. So while you think you're doing a really good thing by feeding that poor little starving child in Africa or helping Sarah McLaughlin and her sad dog videos and all that, you're paying rich people's taxes. They set up these nonprofit organizations and with the guys that they're doing really good for people, and they're donating about 0.01% of that to the actual cause, and the rest of it writing off on rich people's taxes. That's an old Westgate trick I learned. So I'll say it. You ever heard of Wounded Warriors Project for veterans? So they've helped, they do help people. They help some people. But what they won't tell you about is the huge lawsuit they got for doing exactly what I just said, pocketing all the money in the guise of, we're helping the wounded veterans that have been hurt. No, they were just super rich people getting rich off of your charity. So they didn't help anybody of those veterans. You did with your money. Those agencies aren't helping anybody do what they say, you're the one that's helping it with your money. So,
one thing about charities, you give the money and they get the credit for it.
Exactly, that's what I was saying there. So,
they just collect
if you want to help somebody, go give them the money yourself and all of that. Go do that. That's how it all works. Bow down thine ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply thine heart unto my knowledge. For it is a pleasant thing if thou keep them within thee, they shall withal be fitted in thy lips. That thou trust may be in the Lord, I have made known to thee this day, even to thee. So Solomon saying, look, what I'm telling you, it is important. I wouldn't be saying these things if it wasn't, use my example. These examples, not his later example, but use these. He's saying this is important, or I wouldn't be wasting my time writing this to you. The trust in God. Have not I written to thee excellent things in counsels and knowledge, that I might make thee known the certainty of the words of truth, that thou mightest answer the words of truth to them that send unto thee. So while only Proverbs is something that can help us, Proverbs is something that we use to help others. When people come at us, should I do this or should I not? You can find a proverb for it, like, no, you shouldn't. Should we do this or should we do that? Well, the proverb says probably that is what you should do instead. And that's the whole reason that Proverbs exist and why they're taught like this. And they're timeless. Even with the slothful man saith, no, there's a line about, I will be slain in the streets. Couldn't fit more perfectly with what's going on with the world today. Rob not the poor because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted in the gate. For the Lord will plead their cause and spoil the soul of those that spoiled them. So don't rob the poor. I don't know if this is saying, and I know it sounds kind of funny, it's saying rob not the poor. I don't know if that's meaning don't rob the poor because they don't have much, or like don't rob the poor, they don't have much. Kind of thing, you know what I mean? If I'm going to rob somebody, it's going to be a rich person, so I get more. Poor people won't. But because he is poor, neither oppress the afflicted at the gate. Make no friendship with an angry man, and with a furious man thou shalt not go, lest thou learn his ways and get a snare unto thy soul. Margaret, do you have a lot of friends?
No, not really.
Do you think they read Proverbs?
No.
No? Yeah. I'm your friend. It says, make no friendship with an angry man. So I used to tell a little story on myself right quick. We used to fight a lot when we were younger, and we would go to different places and just fight. Just, I don't know, something I thought was part of growing up. Apparently, not for everybody. So one time, there was this guy. He could fight pretty good, whatever, but he wasn't really my friend, but whatever. One of my other friends calls me. He's like, hey, this guy is about to get in a fight. Will you go just help him out and be on his side? I was like, yeah, I'll do it for you, but not for him. So I went because my other friend asked me to go with this guy who was his friend. So there was like 7 of us in a truck, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty good odds, whatever. We get to this place. It's close to Sean's house way back in there. And we park in the street, and they start yelling. And out of this one single wide trailer walks out at least 15, 20 people with golf clubs, baseball bats, and everything. And I was like, they won't really use them or anything like that, so let's just go defuse the situation. So I hop out of the truck, and I walk up to all of them, and I was like, are you guys really so scared that you need baseball bats and golf clubs and all that? Why don't you just let your guy come out, fight our guy one-on-one, and you guys can go back in the house? Is it supposed to be fair and you're coming out with here? I was like, just put all your stuff down, fight like men. They're like, okay. So they all put their stuff away. And one guy's like, who is this guy? I was like, I'm not the one that's involved, but I'm about to be if y'all don't blah, blah, blah. I'm just talking smack, just going crazy. I turn around, I'm the only one that got out of the truck. I'm 20 yards away from any of my friends, and they're in the truck and I was like, oh, gosh. I went from hardcore to little scared girl in 5 seconds. I was like, yeah, that's what I thought, doubling down, because, don't want to sound like a punk now. I was like, all right, man, come on, just fight one-on-one. And he was like, no, let's get out of here. And I was like, So there you go. I made friends with an angry person, learned his ways, and I was in a snare. Luckily, those people let me walk back to the truck, and I got faster the closer I got to the truck, too. Yeah, and then I got in the truck. I bet I said 2 words I didn't say anything until we got back. And we got back to my car where we all met, and I was like, none of you ever call me ever again for anything like this. That's all I said. And I haven't spoken to a lot of them since. It made me really upset. But I should have read the proverb, don't make friends with an angry man, or you're just going to end up in their traps. I had no business even being there. So, be not thou one of them that strike hands. Should have just kept reading, turn the page. Or of them that are sureties for debts. If thou hast nothing to pay, why should he take away thy bed from under thee? So, I know we went over sureties before. Does everybody know what sureties is? What a surety is? In modern terms, we call them cosigners. So, like, hey, Gary's a good guy. I know he'll pay you back. I'll vouch for him and sign my name up against it. And then Gary bails, books town. Now I'm left paying for the car because I co-signed and vouch for it. Proverbs says a lot. Don't do that. Do not be a co-signer for anybody, stranger. I mean, you got parents. Parents may be a little bit different story, but it says don't be a surety for anybody. Because if you don't have nothing to pay, why should they take your bed for something that somebody else didn't pay for? That's what he's talking about here. So, don't be a co-signer for people you don't know or people you do know that you know you shouldn't be co-signing for. Remove not the ancient landmark which thy fathers have set. Looking at you, Virginia. But anyway. Seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. So, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but they're taking down the Robert E. Lee statue that was put up in 1890 in Virginia. So, while a lot of people are like, Proverbs, don't tear down the ancient landmarks and all of that. It is an ancient landmark, sure, but that's not really what this one's talking about. Like, what about the ancient Buddha statues? Should they be left up? Okay, what about the ancient Muhammad ones? Should they be left up because they're ancient? No. And even look to Christianity. What was given to them in the wilderness when they were all getting bitten by snakes? What did God tell them to do? He said, make a statue with a snake, and anybody who gets bit by one of these serpents, look upon the statue and you'll be healed. But us, just like humans, what do? We start worshiping the statue and making sacrifices to it and offerings. So eventually a king, and I forgot his name. Dang it, I looked it up. But anyway, he was like, all right, you guys should be praying to this thing. It's a statue. It was meant to cure you of this. So I'm going to have it torn down and cut into pieces because you've turned it into an idolatry. So now you're sinning with something God gave you. So even though God made the statue and the king tore it down, God was pleased with it. And it even says biblically, and God was pleased with him doing this because they made it into something it wasn't. So if this was just remembering the guy, whatever, to get a statue, he was a general in the Civil War, whatever. But now that it's being used politically and they're taking it down just to make people mad, just to be used politically for that, don't fall into the trap. Just don't even bite that hook. Stay away from it. Who cares? You never even went to that statue anyway, so don't act like it was important to you. So, speaking of statues and serpents, he tore it down, right? He tore down the serpent. Why? Because people were worshiping it. And when he tore it down, they never worshipped it again. Right? Never worshipped the snake statue again? Except for in every medical thing ever in history ever. So the World Health Organization, oh look, a statue with a snake. Now why would they use that to represent their thing? To look upon it and be healed maybe? Don't they know the rest of that story? Do they even care? Are they Christian? Am I just chasing the wrong path here? What about ambulances? Even in Asia, even in America, even in Italy. You got the pharmacy over here. That's a serpent around a cup. Medical corps, physician's office. They're everywhere like that. So just kind of weird, right? When you think about it, snake statue. But I'll leave you with this. There's three kinds of people. It can be narrowed down to three types of people right now. There's a lot of stuff happening in the world. Some of it's scary. We're not having to have a spirit of fear. There's a lot of people telling you to be this way or be that way. There's just three kinds of people. There's people who see. There's people who see when they are shown. And then there's people who don't see. And that's it. Which one are you?